Hello, welcome to Ferrigno Freedom Channel. I'm Dante Ferrigno. Welcome back for another carnivore conversation. Today I'm going to be speaking to Rick Godding. I wanted to be able to share his story because he's been on a carnivore way of eating now for a little over 7 months, and he's apparently had some really good results. You know, I like to share as many of these stories as I can, these experiences that people are having on a carnivore way of eating, because it really piles up all that anecdotal evidence to a point that eventually, we have something that's no longer just anecdotal evidence. We actually have a study group. So Rick's calling in now. Let me go ahead and bring him into the show and we'll get this going. Hey there, Rick.
Well, hello, Dante. How are you?
Doing well. So, Rick,
Hey.
I had just made some introductions for you, but I haven't really told them anything about you except your name.
Yeah, so basically, Dr. Rick, I'm an orthopedic surgeon. Have been doing carnivore for 6 months now. I started carnivore 6 months ago, almost to the day. It was January 3rd. It's been life altering for sure. It's changed everything, and I have tried everything before. I've tried P90X, Body for Life, Ideal Protein, low carb, keto, the Atkins diet, everything you can imagine. I originally saw Jordan Peterson talk about it, and he really wasn't talking about it much for weight loss. He
Right.
was talking about it more for other reasons, his depression and things like that. And then I saw, Dr. Barry and Sean Baker and all these people. And I started thinking, man, that's pretty amazing. And with respect to the doctors, so if you think of Baker and then Saladino, who's no longer carnivore, of course, and Chafee. So I looked at those three and I was like, well, but those guys, I mean, they've looked like that forever. I mean, those
Right.
guys didn't. There was no transformation for them. Those guys are world class athletes who happen to say, "Oh, I'm going to start doing carnivore." So it wasn't that big of a deal. But I saw your transformation. I said, that's me. If he can do that, I can do that. And of course, I love the fact that you're just very genuine and you're a real person and all that. So you were a big part of my inspiration to get going on carnivore, and now I measure from my greatest weight gain or my lowest weight, however you want to look at that. So I've been hitting 49 pounds for a couple weeks here, but I will tell you something. So I'm an orthopedic surgeon, but I I didn't know what was going on with my foot, and I had some serious foot pain for a while. I happened to be sitting in the lounge in between before my first surgery of the day, and I talked to the podiatrist. I said, "Man," I said, my foot is killing me, and I've taken an X-ray and I can't see anything, so I'm going to get an MRI." He said, "Well, let me take a look at it." He said, "Oh, you have a corn." Well, I didn't know I had a corn, but anyway, he fixed it up right there. So I started sprinting yesterday because of you.
Hmm.
Um, I've seen you sprinting. I'm like, man, I want to sprint because it just makes sense, right? It makes sense.
Yeah.
I haven't sprinted. I haven't sprinted since I was in high school football, and I didn't look good doing it. But I tell you what, man, I felt good. I felt pretty good doing it, and it's my newest thing, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited about bringing it all in, and like I said, Dante, you've been an inspiration. You're just living your life, showing people how it can be done. And my situation's a little different. I mean, I am a doctor. I see patients all the time. I talk to my patients about it. I incorporate this into my practice, which we can certainly talk about. But you've been a huge inspiration for me, so I'm really really pleased to talk to you about it.
Well, I appreciate that. I wanted to make sure I was clear on some things you said. You mentioned your lowest, you measure from your lowest weight, and you said something about 49 pounds. Just to clarify, you've lost 49 pounds since you started.
I've lost 49 pounds.
Okay.
And I measure it from there, and so I started at 280, and I got down to 231 the other day, and um, I count now that that's 49 pounds, even though it's it
Yeah.
fluctuates. I mean, you drink
Yeah.
an a couple glasses of water and you're going to go up a little bit. But I've not I've not hit the cash register on 50 yet. And that's coming. It's close. It's close. But that's going to be, you remember the old Christmas movie, what's it called, where he gets the angels get their wings and they get the bell.
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah, my favorite Christmas movie. Right, yeah. So I'm waiting for that. That 50 is going to be a big deal because I've lost weight before in my adult life. I've never lost 50.
Okay.
And I had 50 to lose previously. I just never got there. So
I understand. I understand those kind of struggles. And just to clarify, it sounds like you've been on it a little over 8 months. So it's not just 6 months you've been doing it, because this is August 9th. But
right, yeah. Sorry, yeah. I've been hovering at that weight for the last couple months, right around 46, 48. I think my 6 month, I did release a video on my 6 month progress, and I think it was 45. So I'm, there's not a lot left. I mean, and I'm trying to build muscle at the same time, and so that's very difficult. You want to lose fat and build muscle. It's not the same as just losing fat. It's a very different thing. And I definitely am trying to lose muscle. I can actually do 4 pull-ups now and 4 chin-ups. So, lat pull-ups and 4 chin-ups. I have not been able to do a pull-up or a chin-up since high school. So it's pretty exciting.
I know what a big deal that is. Before we get too far down the road, let's talk about what type of a diet you've been doing, as far as, because there's different types of carnivore. As you know from filling out that form, there's like 50 different types that are out there. And I think it's best if you keep it simple. Myself, at least for me, it was best. Are you doing something like lion diet, or are you just doing all animal proteins? And are you adding in cheese or anything like that?
So I went to so here's my diet is basically meat, eggs, and butter.
Okay.
So I'll have a bowl of ground beef with some shrimp and a couple of eggs on top of it and some butter and salt. That's about as wild as I get. I did go to Spain for about 10 days in June, and I said, well, okay, I'm going to give myself cheese. So I had cheese in Spain. I had all the cheese I wanted, which doesn't work for me on a day-to-day because I'll eat too much cheese. I can eat a lot of cheese. So basically I'm pure carnivore, not lion diet, but pure carnivore. I've got a couple of nice pork chops in the fridge I'm going to eat tonight. Basically, I'll eat a little bit for lunch, a couple handfuls of salami, because it's easy. And then I have some beef sticks and things like that. And then for dinner, I'll have usually either pork chops, ribeye, bowl of ground beef, that kind of thing. And I actually was just talking to the CEO and the founder of a thing called 99 Counties here in Iowa. And there are 99 counties in Iowa. Their goal is to have one regenerative ranch in every county in Iowa.
Wow.
So it's really like, this is how we change. This is how we move the needle, right?
Absolutely.
We support these ranchers. That moves the needle. So they're having a dinner, and I just got off the phone with the CEO of the company yesterday morning, and he said, listen, there's only 30 spots, but we're going to make room for you, and we're going to be really happy to have you come, and I'm going to go video everything and kind of make a deal of it. So the guy who founded it, he inherited a farm, had been in his family for, I think, 60 or 80 years, but he got sick. He got a bad cancer. And he said, I think it has something to do with all these chemicals that I've been around my whole life. So he changed his whole farm to mostly cattle ranch, but he does farm too, and it's all regenerative. And he sold to 99 counties. And now he's doing a whole different thing. And I'm going to go do a little mini doc on him too. I think eating carnivore is one step. But if you're going to eat carnivore, you probably are thinking on a bigger picture, right? It's my own health has improved so much. And then you see these people who are attacking cattle farming, and it's like, wait a second, that's no good. It's probably better for the planet to farm regenerative than to farm chemical. It's probably better for grass-fed cattle than for the CAFO, the concentrated animal feeding places. And if we can help to support the farmers that are trying to make the transition, doing regenerative ranching and regenerative farming and organic and not using the bad chemicals, I'm a big fan of, and so I want to support that. So those things will be coming on my channel. The way I look at it from a scientific perspective is these people who are trying to run down meat in general, vegans and whatever, what have you. So the people who are anti-meat, they will say the cows are producing X amount of methane gas, and that's the end of their calculation. But if you look at something like Polyface Farms, Joel Salatin, or over in Virginia, he does permaculture, or you look at White Oak Pastures down in Georgia. You look at
Yeah, I've been there.
Oh, which one?
White
Oak?
Oak.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah. No, I want to get down there. It's really cool. You look at the health of the land, and that is healthy soil, healthy land. And that's a little part of the earth that's more healthy because they're growing animals on it, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that there's this huge misconception among people in general, because they get propagandized by the news, and they say, oh, well, it's really bad to eat meat. It's bad for the planet. It causes diabetes. It causes cancer. And it's a big lie.
Yeah.
I did an episode on my channel about the Harvard red meat study, which purportedly shows that red meat causes diabetes. And as soon as I saw it, I said, wait a second, that makes no sense. How does protein cause diabetes? And I went and looked at it, and I looked at the methodology, and they have a thing called the Nurses' Health Study, where they got the data from. Every 3 to 5 years, they mail out a questionnaire to these nurses, and they say, what have you eaten in the last 3 to 5 years? How many times a week have you eaten X? Which is absurd on its face for anybody who knows how human recollection works. But it's worse than that. They equated a serving of red meat. Lasagna was a red meat serving. A casserole was a red meat serving. So
Yeah.
say hamburger helper, or
a hamburger with bread and everything else is considered a red meat serving. Yeah.
I mean, macaroni and cheese with some red meat in it. If you put red meat in there, they consider it a red meat serving, which is it was totally absurd. And I reached out to the lead author, and they never got back to me.
Well, let's see if we can get back to your story some, because I wanna be able to definitely share. I love the things that you're bringing up here, but I want to be able to share your story as much as I can, because there's people out there with different experiences. And let's start with why. What was it in your life that made you decide this is something that I need to do? Because I know when I started talking about my story, it wasn't about weight loss, but that's the thing that usually gets people's attention. They see my before and after pic, and they're like, well, goodness, if he could do that, then this can't be too bad. But the reason I started doing it was for gut health, because I had a problem that was hurting so bad and doctors had no answer. Did you have any issues that you were concerned about specifically other than weight loss, or was weight loss like the big focus?
No. When I turned 50, so I'm 54. So I turned 50. I'm like, man, I'm fat. I don't want to be fat. I want to be active. So I bought an e-mountain bike, because I used to mountain bike and race when I was in my 20s. And I was like, all right, I'm going to get on this thing. I'm going to hit the gym. I got a gym membership. I had always worked out, but I was like, I'm really going to do it. So I'm pushing hard on my bike. I'm riding hours and hours a week. I'm working out hours and hours. I just feel terrible. I wake up in the morning and I think, when do I get to nap? That was my first thing in the morning. My very first thing in the morning was, what can I do? How quickly can I get back into bed and sleep? Well, that's a terrible terrible, terrible way to start the day. So I found out that I had sleep apnea. So I got my CPAP machine, and this was a little over a year ago. Well, about January of 23, and I started feeling really good. And then I started kind of doing everything, and I'm working out and all this stuff, and I got a checkup, a health checkup, and it turned out that so about right in that time, a little before that, I had been having a lot of chest pain, and my dad had had the widowmaker lesion. So it's I'm aware that this is in my family. So I've been having some chest pain. So I got a CT angiogram and a calcium coronary artery calcium score. Both were pretty good. My coronary artery calcium score was 26, and my CT angiogram showed less than 20% blockage in one of the non-major arteries that supplies my heart. And interestingly enough, my cardiologist at the time, he told me, "Hey, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing fine. These are good numbers." Meanwhile, I'm 45 pounds overweight. I didn't feel good. I had sleep apnea. So I said, "This doesn't seem right to me." So then I got a kind of a bigger, fuller checkup, and I found out that I had metabolic syndrome. So metabolic syndrome is five markers that doctors use, and they basically, if you have three of the five, you have metabolic syndrome, and if you have metabolic syndrome, you're on a fast train towards bad outcomes. My blood pressure was through the roof, like 190s to 180s to 190s on my systolic, which is the upper number.
Right.
Um, uh, on two medications now.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
on
Hi.
two medications, and my fasting blood glucose was a little over 100. So I'm looking at myself, I'm like, I got metabolic syndrome. I'm a catastrophe. So I'm looking online, and I'm like, okay, I've done keto before. What's Jordan Peterson talking about? What's Sean Baker talking about? Whoa, look at this guy. It's like the Hulk, Lou Ferrigno. you know, uh, look at this guy. He's transformed, and that's what I want to look like. I want to look like that guy. I want to be more of a slim fit guy like you. And I said, man, if that guy can do it, and I started watching all your videos. And I said, if that guy can do it, I can do it. So January 1st, or well, 3rd, January 3rd, I started. It's not just the weight loss. The weight loss is obviously number one, two, and three, right? I mean, that's what everybody looks at. Like, oh my gosh, yeah, you look great. But I feel like I'm 35.
Yeah.
What I believe is possible for my life is different now going forward. I thought, well, I'll die in my 70s. Orthopedic surgery is a stressful occupation. I've got bad genes. I'm just going to die. I won't really know my grandkids for very long, and that's that. And now I'm like, man, I'm going to take my grandkids surfing in Costa Rica. You know,
Yeah.
uh, everything is so different now that my outlook on my life has transformed at least as much, if not more, than my physical body, which is 50 pounds down. It's just given me hope. It's given me encouragement. It's blown open, like I said, the whole possibility of what I can do going forward in my life. And I can't wait to go forward with it.
Has fighting obesity been something you've dealt with most of your life?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I was on Atkins diet when I was about 13, was the first time. So it's been a struggle my whole life. Like I said, I watched my brother get a gastric bypass and then die of a gastrointestinal related cancer. He had a cancer of his. There's a duct that comes out of your gallbladder that attaches into the main bile duct, and he had a ductal cancer there. I don't know if that was related to the surgery or if that was related to the obesity or all the bad food, but he didn't take care of himself. And my dad, when he died, I think it was just too many years of the same kind of thing. Too many pancakes, too many bowls of spaghetti, you know, too much ice cream, and so it all kind of came together for me. I'm like, I have metabolic syndrome. My God, I'm not gonna live a healthy life, and the life that I am is going to be shortened. And then I saw all these people eating this crazy meat diet, and I said, well, damn, I'm going to try it. And it's just, I've not looked back, and I don't know that I will be carnivore for the rest of my life, but I'm not going back to eating pizza. I have hope. I have hope that I will get off all medications altogether.
Yeah.
Um, my blood sugar has been trending down. It's been below 100 the last two times I've checked it, which is the first time in years that it's been below 100.
Wow.
Um, my hemoglobin A1C was actually not high. That's the marker of the longer term. It's called glycation of your hemoglobin. So the hemoglobin is the part of the red blood cell that exchanges the oxygen in the lungs and in the tissue. So it picks up some oxygen in the lungs, takes it to the tissue, drops it off. So your hemoglobin A1C is how much of that is glycated, which means how many glucose or sugar molecules are attached to it. And that is a proxy reading of how much sugar is sitting in your blood over time. So my hemoglobin A1C was never high. And I'm I haven't checked it because it's really been my fasting blood glucose that's been high, but my fasting blood glucose has now corrected. So my blood pressure's down, my weight's down, my fasting blood glucose is down. My triglycerides went from 108 to 68, and that is triglycerides are a huge marker
Yeah.
of metabolic dysfunction and insulin resistance and overall poor health. Um, so numerically, I'm killing it. I'm skiing downhill.
Glad to hear that you've been able to reduce your blood pressure, because that's the real killer there that you got to be careful of.
Yeah, and so one of the reasons that I like your channel so much is you're not dogmatic. Dante's just trying to share his wonderful results with people, and that's why I like you, and that's what I like about your channel is that that's what you're doing. You're just trying to share your wonderful results with people. And I tell people, I, there's a cardiologist, my new cardiologist, she's a vegan, and I would never try to tell her that she shouldn't be a vegan. She's like, she looks super fit. She's about my age, but she's very fit. Her numbers are all good. What am I going to say? Oh, you should eat meat. I mean, it's working. It's working for her. Some people are different. People's metabolisms are very different, and you can tell that. Like for me, I've always been the guy who I can eat a lot and I can gain a lot of weight, and there've always been people in my life who could sit right next to me and eat the same thing I'm eating or more and be skinny, and I've always been like, damn, those people. If I could eat pizza and feel like I feel, I would eat pizza. Full stop.
Yeah.
There's no way in the world I would deny myself pizza. I have a friend named Chuck. He lives in Dallas. He's a friend of mine from high school. Super fit, super lean, eats the worst diet ever. And maybe who knows? I don't know what his cardiovascular health is. You can't tell. But the guy's living large. He's going to go out and watch a football game and eat chicken wings and pizza and have a few beers, and he's still going to look like that and feel like that. Man, if I could, I would. Anyway, I got my Fever Believer shirt on, Indiana Fever. Well, we're all big Caitlin Clark fans here in Iowa. She's I don't know if you know who she is, but she's kind of changing how women's basketball is being played. She's all-time leading scorer for both men and women in college basketball, and she's from Iowa, so we're all excited about her. So
Awesome. Well, I'm wearing a different shirt today. I'm wearing Carnivore Soldier's shirt. He sent me this after our carnivore conversation a few months back. I love it. It's one of my favorite ones to wear. Larry Allhands, the Carnivore Soldier. He's
oh
got a,
wow,
he's got a YouTube channel also, and he does a lot of work with veterans because he's a
oh
veteran
that's cool.
himself.
You know, veterans tend to be uh, some of the unhealthiest people. I've noted that from my entire career, from going back to medical school, the VA, the Veterans Administration Hospital in Washington, D.C. I have turned several veterans on to the carnivore diet, and I think I'd love to see the VA break out of the American Diabetes Association death grip on nutritional information and try to help these guys out, because it's the American Diabetes Association diet it's nonsense. It basically says eat whole grains, and I think they have I think 40% carbs is will pass you on that diet. Will
Yeah.
And it's like, man, it doesn't make any sense.
I'd
But
like to
yeah, I'll
see a
have to
lot
check
of
him.
things change course as far as guidelines go, and especially when it comes to the veterans. And Larry Allhand's channel is a good one to go to, Carnivore Soldier. So any veterans out there, you can check him out, because he's not only helping with the physical side, but he's also working on the mental health side. So and I think this way of eating has a lot of positives in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the work being done at Harvard now, I'm surprised that they even let them do the work there. But there are a couple of psychiatrists at Harvard looking at the ketogenic diet and its applications in schizophrenia and major depression and a lot of psychiatric disorders. Um, and it just makes you think, right? I mean, well, yeah, wow. We know we've seen there have been schools where they take the vending machines out and the kids' behavior improves. Like there was this one particular school, I don't remember the name of it or where it was. I just read the article. It was a school for behaviorally challenged kids, and they had bad home lives and all this stuff. And they just took the vending machines out, and they weren't feeding them any sugar and bad food, and all their behavior improved. Their grades went up. And it's like, what else do we need to know? I mean, that's so perfectly scientific. It's like you had before and you have after. You have one intervention and you have a result, right? It couldn't be any more scientific. I was just on the Homestead How with Carrie, um, and I said I would cut my hand off to go back in time and feed my kids better and teach them how to eat better. But
Yeah. It's so hard to function in the world. What's your experience with that as far as social situations when it comes to eating this way?
so the people that I socialize with all have seen me transform from a fat guy to a not fat guy. So they all say, well, good for you. I mean, nobody has said, oh, I'd like to do that. I've not had that yet. But people pretty much say, well, good for you. I mean, nobody has said, oh, it's crazy. I do have a friend who's in the renewable energy industry, and she mentioned cow farts, and I said, look, like I said, I think the land overall is healthier with cattle than without it, and we didn't really. That's as far as that went. But I have not had people say, "Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to try that." Now,
So if you could leave the audience with one thing, what would you like to leave them with today?
well, you can do it. That's one, two, and three. You can do this. I have patients who I talk to them about it, and they say, I don't like meat enough, and those people can't do it, and they're just
Yeah.
fair. But if you like meat enough to eat meat for a meal, you can do this. You can reclaim your health. You can set a new trajectory for your life that you didn't think you were going to be able to have. You can change everything. Everything. It's so much bigger, and I think part of it is because it's so doable for me. If I'm going to have 50 carbs a day, it's the problem is right next to the 50th carb is the 51st carb,
Yep.
and the 60th carb, and you can have half of a baked potato, but the other one's just sitting right there and you've already eaten it, and I have trouble with that. But it just makes it super simple. It's not easy, but it's super simple. You just eat meat, you eat butter, you eat meat, you eat salt. That's all you do. you can do it. You can change your life. You can change your outlook on life. You can change your whole future by just eating meat.
All right. Well, it's good stuff. I appreciate you, Dr. Rick. And people can find you on YouTube at Dr. Rick Goding, just like
Yep,
it's
at
spelled under
Dr.
your name here.
That's it. And I apologize for the background today. It's been I'm not in the place where I typically have my studio, but thanks for tolerating that. And my dog's guest appearance and all that.
I understand. I hope it plays well for everyone. I just,
Yeah, I
it's
hope
not
so
always
too.
easy to get it as perfect as we would like, but you know what? The world's a messy place. So
That's it.
I get it.
All right. Well, thanks, Andre. I appreciate it. It's great meeting you. I'll stay in touch. If we ever get down there, I'll come say hi, Dante. Maybe we'll run some sprints or something.
Sounds good. All right.
All right.
It was nice talking to you, Dr. Rick.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Have a great one.
You too. Take care.
If we pay extra, could we maybe get some grease or fat?